The Switch 2 promises better design, more power and a stronger library of games, but between the missing OLED screen, higher prices and some familiar issues, does it truly deliver? I'm Roland, Techusiast, and I've been using the Switch 2 since it came out, and I'm here to tell you all about it. If you recall the design of the original Nintendo Switch, you'll remember that it looked a bit like a toy, shiny, colourful and, from my experience, a mixed build quality. The Nintendo Switch 2 completely overhauls this design, introducing a new distinct look with a sleeker aesthetic. While I would have preferred to see some colourful Joy-Cons, it's nothing that a case or a skin can't fix. The Switch 2 is built remarkably well, significantly better than its predecessor. Yes, it's quite a bit larger, which might be a negative for some, but this design has helped Nintendo make the console far more comfortable to hold. Speaking of holding the console, the Switch 2 might weigh a little more than its predecessor by a little over 100 grams. It's fairly slim and extremely lightweight when you compare it to some other competing handhelds. Sure enough, the Switch 2 is in a league of its own with its closed down ecosystem, but still it's impressive what Nintendo managed to cram inside such a small chassis given the PS4-like powerhouse inside. I especially like the revised stand on the back, which feels a lot more sturdy and up to the job. It's no longer flimsy and the Switch 2 will stand loud and proud on any table. The console has two USB-C ports, one on top and one on the bottom. There are also dual firing speakers which sound significantly better than on the last generation. The volume and power buttons are on top and the Switch 2 even has a built-in microphone and a 3.5mm headphone jack. And while it might be a bit controversial to some, the new microSD Express card slot is a massive upgrade that can expand your storage even further. Yes, I know these cards cost a bit more, but assuming Nintendo isn't thinking about releasing a new successor anytime soon, then I would consider it a massive win in my books, one that'll make games run faster and more efficiently in the long term. Moving over to the display, this is an area where I don't think the Switch 2 got the upgrade it deserved. Nintendo decided to ditch the OLED in favor of a traditional LCD display, and while this has some advantages on its own, such as being less prone to burn-in, the OLED panel would have made this a no-brainer. I guess, knowing Nintendo, they'll probably come in a refresh in a few years when the Switch 2 sales will probably start to dip. While we wait for the OLED model to arrive, I'm happy to report that the LCD panel actually gets quite a lot of improvements. It has a 1080p panel with support for HDR10, although the brightness could have been a touch higher. We also get 120Hz refresh rate, but it's worth noting that most games are locked in at 60fps, so there are still only very few titles that will allow you to take advantage of this. Still, it's great to see. While docked, you'll be able to run games at up to 4K 60fps in select titles, which is more than enough to provide an excellent overall gaming experience, especially with the type of games that are available on the console. Generally speaking, I haven't had any major issues with the display, and it was a pleasant experience when I used it inside or outside. At times I wish the screen was a bit brighter, especially in direct sunlight, but it was enjoyable for the most part. And finally, the Joy-Cons have a new magnetic mechanism of connecting to the device, one that feels miles better than on the previous generation. It takes some getting used to, but it's easy to get the hang of it and the controller feels great too, aside from some of the ergonomic issues if you have a large hand. The mouse-like features are great, although I'm yet to be able to take advantage of them as I haven't yet found myself playing any shooter games or anything else where I could have put them to good use. That said, it's an excellent idea and there are many games where it could come in handy, such as in RPG games and shooters, to name a few. The overall dashboard and user interface haven't changed much from the previous generation, so you'll feel right at home. I still find it bland and far too simplistic, and I would have appreciated a design refresh with a new coat of paint throughout the entire system. That said, it's clear that the Switch 2 is designed to be a family-friendly device appealing to all ages. However, Nintendo could have easily taken a few steps to make it a bit more customizable and fresh. Before we continue, a quick reminder, most of you watching aren't subscribed. If you enjoy tech reviews on smartphones, wearables and laptops, please hit like and subscribe, it really helps the channel out. Moving over to the overall performance, there's literally nothing I could complain about. The Switch 2 provides an excellent experience and overall performance, even in the most demanding titles. The visual upgrades in games such as Hogwarts Legacy are literally night and day when you compare it to the previous generation, and it finally looks good and fully playable. Tears of the Kingdom looks nice and sharp, and it appears to have received a lot of additional details to make the world feel more alive. While I still hate the fact that you have to pay a small fee to upgrade games, If you have the Switch 2, I'd certainly recommend it, as the Switch 1 version will feel severely outdated and old compared to the new visuals and smooth performance on the Switch 2. It's worth noting that the Switch 2 is backwards compatible with most games, so if you don't want to pay up for the upgraded versions, you will be able to continue playing the games you've already purchased. Nintendo has a massive library of games, so you'll almost certainly be able to find something that'll suit your style. And what's more, there are more games coming over to the Switch 2 every month, so you can expect to see even more AAA titles and premium games with upgraded visuals. The console does have a fan built in that helps keep the temperature down, and while this can be heard every once in a while, I have never found it disturbingly loud or frustrating. It's very efficient at reducing heat and preventing the device to throttle, but you'll certainly feel the heat coming off the back during long sessions. I also think it's worth mentioning that while the Joy-Cons received a fresh new coat of paint, previous reports confirmed that it has a chance of being prone to stick drifts. Although having owned and used the Switch 2 since it came out, I still haven't noticed anything that would have raised any red flags, so that's definitely something that we'll have to wait and see whether it becomes as bad as on the previous generation. The Nintendo Switch 2 is a slim and relatively small device, again when compared against other handhelds, and this means it simply doesn't have the space inside for a large battery. I found that playing Mario World and Tears of the Kingdom provided about 2 and 2.5 hours of battery life, depending on my brightness settings. While I was out and about in direct sunlight, the console was draining like there was no tomorrow. Inside and in more comfortable lighting conditions, I managed to make the Switch 2 last just over 2.5 hours, which isn't terrible, but it's also not the kind of upgrade I expected. But when you consider the slim design, it's actually not all that bad. Sure enough, you'll almost definitely have to carry a charger with you if you want to game on a flight, but at least you'll know that any relatively fast phone charger will be able to help you maintain the battery levels for as long as you have at least a 20 or 30 watts charger. Speaking of topping up the Switch 2, the console will take a considerable amount of time to fully charge up, especially if you continue to game on it. A full charge takes around 3 hours when you're not using the device, which is extremely slow by all modern standards. So, should you buy the Nintendo Switch 2? If you've been using the original Nintendo Switch and you've been looking for a way to step up your game, then the Switch 2 is arguably the best device out there for you. It boasts a significantly better build quality, a strong portfolio of high quality games, lots of accessories, and all the things you love about Nintendo. The Switch 2 lives up to its name and provides a stellar performance with major improvements, especially in the hardware department. But those advancements come at a cost. The Switch 2 has a significantly higher price tag, which could deter many people from purchasing it, especially since some of the games are also offered at eye-wateringly high prices. But the truth is that the Nintendo Switch 2 is an excellent portable console that performs remarkably well, both indoors and outdoors. The docks makes it even more powerful when you play on the big screen, and the small size makes it easy to carry wherever you go. If you have a large library of games and you're a fan of the first-party titles from Nintendo and you're looking for something truly portable, there's literally nothing out there that competes with the Nintendo Switch 2. For those still undecided about whether this is worth buying, my suggestion is to consider the type of games you enjoy playing. If you enjoy family-friendly games, then the Switch might be a great option. However, for anyone else, a more powerful device such as the Asus ROG Ally X, or even the Steam Deck, or potentially the upcoming ROG Xbox console might be a more viable choice, even if they cost significantly more than the Switch 2. And there you have it. Hope you found this video useful. If you did, make sure to leave a like and subscribe to my channel. Also, let me know in the comments down below what you thought about the Nintendo Switch 2. Let's keep the conversation going. And also, if you're not upgrading to the Switch 2, what are you upgrading to next? I want to know. With all that said, thank you for watching. I'll see you next time.